Welcome to West USA Weekly, the podcast, your go-to source for everything real estate in Phoenix, Arizona. We're breaking down market trends, local insights, and the moves that matter most to Valley agents. Interviews, tips, and the latest from one of Arizona's top brokerages, all in one place. Let's dive in.
Good morning, West USA. Welcome to another edition of our Monday morning podcast. Appreciate everybody taking the time to join us this morning. And let's jump right into it. Take a look at what we got coming up today. Todd's off today, so we'll probably get some numbers later on. So just stay tuned on the Facebook groups and for those numbers. I could do numbers, but
You could do numbers.
We'll just talk about how it's a buyer's market. All right. Well, we got Justin Frederick in the house to give us our mortgage minute. And Justin and we're gonna sit down and talk about 3 tips for talking with buyers who keep saying that they're waiting for rates to drop. And then our managing broker, Claudia Ewen's in for conversations with Claudia. And as always, if you've got any comments or questions, please feel free to email us at podcast@westusa.com. All right, let's jump into some announcements here. Todd's next CE class this Wednesday, virtual class. You can pick up 3 hours of agency law. And as always, all of our events can be found on the West USA calendar. Just go to your dashboard, hit the calendar button, and they will all be there. And if you're not with West USA, you're more than welcome to join any of our events, and you can just go to westusacalendar.com. All righty, so unlocking the secrets of wills, trusts, and probate. This is a big, big topic. So that's coming up. This class is coming up Thursday from 1 to 4 at the Scottsdale office. So you want to register with the Scottsdale office for that class. All right, White Mountains. For those of you in the White Mountains, you got a virtual meeting, broker updates, market stats, and so forth. That is coming up this Friday from 10 to 11. And I'm going to be up there on Friday. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful.
Too bad this is virtual. I'll just be hanging out and where's lunch?
Lunch could be at your house because you could join virtually.
Yeah.
All right. And Goodyear branch is closed.
Still closed.
Still closed.
Still closed. Yep. We're rocking and rolling. Janet shared some photos late last week. The construction crew is getting things done. We're still anticipating mid-December reopening the branch back up for everybody to come back in, but we'll keep everybody posted.
All right. And come over here and hang out with us. Just bring lunch. All right. Wednesday, we are celebrating Veterans Day. So for those of you... Tuesday. That's right. Tuesday. That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
All right. So the Goodyear branch will be closed tomorrow.
Correct.
Right? All right. So those of you with West USA, or if you had family members that have served this great nation, we just want to give a big shout out and say thank you for your service. But all offices will be closed tomorrow and staff will be off. So just make note when you show up to the office, your office tomorrow, nobody will be there. All right, Justin, take it away. What's going on?
So rates stayed relatively flat last week. Again, no reports coming in from BLS, so Bureau of Labor and Statistics. We did get ADP reports last week on job openings and layoffs, and we saw that those numbers were initially higher than expected. And they did a little revision on them, and we got rates to correct. So they went up a little bit during the week, and then we recovered. So yeah. Now I did hear on Friday that Trump was talking about a 50-year rate. We have not got any information on that on our end as far as lenders go. I know that there's a couple of non-QM, non-quality mortgage lenders out there or private money that are offering 50-year rates. But as we get that information, I will bring it to the podcast and we'll talk about that more and what that looks like.
So let me ask you this. So if this is a presidential agenda and item, I'm assuming that like VA and FHA, it'll be a required product, but will conventional be required to offer this?
Honestly, I think VA and FHA will be required for modification purposes, but I don't believe they will do it for qualifying purposes. I don't believe you'll be able to call into us and get a 50-year mortgage. Here's what people don't think about. Just like a 15-year to a 30-year, the rate is much different. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same from a 30 to a 40 to a 50. And then you start talking about what the amortization looks like on interest. It's not going to make a heck of a lot of difference on the monthly payment. but it is going to make a huge difference on how much they pay over the life of the loan in interest. So what we'll do is when we actually get those, if we do get that mortgage out for qualification purposes, we'll do a side-by-side on what it looks like, so that we can really break it down for people and look at the overall savings compared to a 30-year. And that way everybody kind of has an idea of what we're looking at. And we'll go off of what Todd's average market purchase price is. And that way we can really dive into that.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
Yeah, nothing at this point, but I have heard about it and I've had a lot of text on it. So there we go. All right, so today we're talking about big banks. We're going to set the scene here. As a realtor, your reputation rides on how smoothly the buyer's loan process goes. We really are partners with you. The last thing that you need is a deal falling apart because a big bank missed a deadline or dropped the ball. Today we're going to break down what to look out for when your buyers choose a bid box bank and you can't get them over to a retail lender, and how you can help them avoid pitfalls.
Well, and I think the common situation is we meet a new buyer and they say, "Hey, I've already been pre-qualified with Wells Fargo, Bank of America," and I'm walking down. What does that conversation look like? And again, to your point, what the pitfalls are.
Yeah, and so we're not bashing on big banks. I want you guys to know that. I'm not. I mean, they're great with handling our checking and savings accounts, and sometimes they got good financial advisors there too. But I worked at a Chase Bank for 7 years, so I'm going to give you my experience there, and why I'm not there anymore. So, time delays and bureaucracy. The big banks handle hundreds or thousands of loans through a centralized loan processing center. They take a file that we would normally hand off to a single individual, and that single individual would do verifications, such as job verifications, VOEs, verifications of employments, verifying social security numbers, doing IRS tax transcripts, all kinds of verifications, and that goes to single departments. So typically you see 2 to 3 day turnarounds from each one of those departments, whereas I have a single person, which much like me, most retail lenders have the same, or brokers will have the same, and they will just knock it all out in a single couple of hours, actually. So this takes a big portion of the time. Underwriters can be slow because files are just shuffled through multiple departments. Underwriters go to these big banks to learn how to do what they're doing, along with loan officers, along with processors. That's where we can get a job to start off with. You're not going to go to a place like Fairway and get a job as a brand new processor or
Could I be your personal assistant? Would you pay me for that?
You don't know what 10 plus 10 is.
No, it's 19 every day.
I'm just kidding. Realtor's worst nightmare: missed contract deadlines, jeopardized deals, and I think we've seen that more often.
Yeah, because when a deadline is missed, it doesn't change the terms of the purchase contract. There's no caveat in the purchase contract that says, in the event you're with a big box bank, and you miss a deadline, we're gonna let it slide.
That's right. And no matter how good the loan officer is that you're working with over at that big box bank, they just don't have the control. They don't have the power to help through the process. So you may send a cure, and that lender will be sending it out to his boss, the boss's boss. I got a cure. Help me out here. We need to get through this.
They don't care.
They don't care. There's still a process. Lack of communication, no LSUs. Realtors often left in the dark, no updates, uncertainty for all parties. It's frustrating as a lender that works for these companies. I can't imagine being the realtor of the sellers or the buyer's agent in a lot of these cases. Even with a lay down loan, W-2s, assets out the wazoo, very easy, 800 credit scores, 20, 30% down, it can still be a nightmare. Fairway or local lenders typically give proactive updates, milestone notification, weekly calls, and direct communication lines. Communication equals confidence. Realtors thrive on knowing exactly where things stand. So do the buyers. So do the sellers. There's so much that is involved in that closing that the amount of stress that they're going through throughout this purchase, this would only add to it. So no LSUs. As a realtor, if you get somebody with a big box bank, you make sure that you're on them about LSUs. I need an LSU every Friday, and remind them every Thursday, hey, I'm going to need an LSU tomorrow. If milestones aren't being achieved, you need to ask questions and maybe research going to the lender's boss. Because getting in front of it earlier than later is going to be your best avenue, sooner rather than later. Extra overlays and red tape. So this is something that big box banks have a lot of that you can't see as a consumer, or you can't see as a realtor that hasn't been doing this for a long time. Big banks often impose extra underwriting overlays, which means rules on top of rules. They're stricter than basic Fannie Mae, Freddie, FHA guidelines, or VA. That means more conditions, more documentation, more opportunities for a denial. Local lenders tend to use common sense underwriting, focus on getting the deal done within the guidelines that are set by Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA. We don't try to add more rules on top of the rules because the person lending the money is giving us the rules. Why would we add more rules on top of those rules? Working with an inexperienced or new loan officer, this is very common. Again, we go to those big box banks to get the volume, to learn how to do what we do. High turnover, inexperienced staff can lead to errors or missed details, or incomplete loan applications, incomplete stories when we're turning these reports into underwriters. Some LOs at big banks are more focused on volume than relationships. When you work for a big box bank as a loan officer, there's what's called tiers. So you have to hit a certain number of fundings or a certain volume of funded loans in order to get paid. So you're really pushing to get as much volume in because there's always going to be fallout. So you're really pushing to get as much volume in, and you're throwing things on the wall that may not stick. It's like the pickle race that you see on the window. You know, you throw up the pickles. Let's see which one will stick to the end and go all the way down.
I have no idea what you're talking about. The pickle race.
The pickle. So you're at a burger shop. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Nick?
it's from Billy Madison. It's really funny that you see a Billy Madison throwback, but Weinstein not knowing is hilarious.
Realtors want a partner who knows the market, their contracts, and that's a big deal in Arizona, and the documents that we use.
Yeah, because if I'm working with a big box bank, the loan officer might be from another state, and they don't understand that our Arizona real estate purchase contract specifically states that the pre-qualification letter is an AAR approved pre-qualification form.
Correct.
And LSU as well, but if I can't get the pre-qualification form, I'm not even worried about the LSU, right?
Yeah, because you're experienced. You know, you've been through this before, and you know what it's like, and how to solve problems fast within your markets. Because I would say at least 70% of these big box banks, majority of their lending centers are out of Ohio. Majority of the processing centers are out of Ohio. And that's just what we see. So why realtors should care? Time is money. Delays kill deals. Poor communication equals clients' frustration, negative reviews, unnecessary stress. Local partners create repeat business and referrals, meaning the transaction goes smooth. That's when you close a deal and you get docs to title early. That's when you ask for your referrals when you're closing. This was smooth. Everybody's happy. A smooth transaction builds the realtor's reputation, and a rough one damages it.
Yeah, and one of the things that you don't have on here that I think is a big deal, and one of the things, because these are the things that I'm explaining to people if they come and say, hey, I've been pre-qualified with a big box bank, and I'm going through everything that you just outlined. But the other one is good luck at getting a hold of somebody on weekends and evenings, right?
Correct.
And like,
I
I sent over we have a mutual client, and he's back in the market and he's buying. and he's been doing. It's been really slow, right?
Yeah.
Getting him to get all his documents in, and you guys have been on it. And then all of a sudden, there's a house that popped up that he wanted to go see, and I showed it to him yesterday. And your team was on it yesterday and communicating. If he was with Wells Fargo or something like that, I'd be waiting until today to try to get a hold of someone.
Probably the end of the day because they're trying to catch up on everything from the weekend. And they don't have the CRMs to trigger follow-up. And just like I said, with volume and transaction volume or units, if somebody's not answering the phone, you're just moving on. Yeah. You don't have the time to go back and look in order to follow up, to chase down documents, to babysit is what we like to call it, in order to get the buyers out there looking for the home. You have to wait on them.
So I missed the first opening of this. I had to take a phone call. I apologize for that. But I would hope that most agents, even new agents, should understand the benefits and the better quality of service you're going to get from a local lender. What incentives are driving the consumer, that buyer, to a big box bank? Like, what is getting them to call the B of A's and not the local mortgage? Just because they don't know, they see an advertisement on social media. Like, what does that usually talk look like?
I think the consumer themselves, they think, oh, I carry my assets there. I have a lot of assets. They see my deposits. They know everything about me. Well, what you don't understand is that department is completely separate from the retail bank themselves or the financial advisor that's there. They don't communicate with each other. They don't have the ability to go and see all this stuff, or they won't be able to use that. They still have to collect pay stubs, W-2s, have all your job history, even though the bank will update your job history or trigger it on your app to update your job history. It's not like it's pulling from that information. So it's a completely separate department. And they're working brand new with you.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Nick. I think most agents understand the benefit. It's just a matter of being able to make that case.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of being able to sit down with a buyer and say, hey, these are the disadvantages of the big box bank and the advantages of going with a retail lender. So
we just a story real quick. We have an individual right now where I know the loan would be denied through one of the big box banks. But we had a 45-day close of escrow and went after a big box bank's money because we can lend their money. We have a broker avenue through those. The funny part is we have a better interest rate than what that big box bank was offering, and we got the loan approved. And I know that it would have been denied due to a credit history. But because of our experience and the way we lay it out and the letters of explanation, and we're delegated to underwrite those. So that means that we can underwrite it in-house and then send it out for a signature from their underwriting. We're good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to keep Justin around because I wanted to getting into our 3-pack this morning is talking about just strategies and things to focus on when our clients are saying we're waiting for rates to drop. We're still hearing it over and over and over again. And some people, at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter. They got a number in mind, and they're listening to Aunt Ethel and Sun City and so forth. But we need to be able to negotiate and talk them through that. So these are some of my strategies, some of the things that I'm focusing on. And so I'm reframing the decision. And I think we've talked a lot about this, but waiting for interest rates to drop at the end of the day can result in higher prices and more competition. If a certain percentage of the market is waiting for rates to drop to 5.75% and rates get down to 5.75%, that percentage of the market is now in the game. That is now your competition. And when there's more buyers, the market and up and really concessions will be dropped off. We're going to see less and less concessions, but rate drops. And this is what I'm focusing on. Rate drops attract more buyers, not more affordability. Because just because you now might have a lower payment, you may not have a lower payment because you're paying X amount of dollars more for the house.
Or you're not getting those concessions that's helping you pay for closing costs. And let's just say it's $10,000. I mean, $10,000 for 0.25% on the interest rate takes a long time to recoup that difference when you're talking dollar for dollar. So you do have to consider that. When we were, I'm probably going to jump ahead here. So
That's okay. It's all good.
So another thing is Benzer repairs. I mean, right now we're seeing a lot of things being repaired, including a lot of roofs. We're talking $10,000 to $20,000 roof repairs. We're talking little things too being repaired in the home. You just don't see that in sellers markets. And we've seen it in the past where it's shifted pretty quickly, right? From a buyer's to a seller's market. I think it's very easy for a seller to know based on the amount of traffic they're getting and the amount of offers they're getting.
Well, speaking of little things,
That was the best transition you've had in a long time. I think, as agents, we need to overcome, and I know I say this, I think, every single week, the national media, the sensationalism that we're seeing when everybody is talking about rates, and that's the biggest point of context that we're hearing about. The rate is one small aspect of the conversation when it comes to buying a house. And that's why, in my opinion, when talking to consumers, when I'm out and about and someone asks what I do for a living and they talk about the real estate market, I'm not, and maybe this is probably the wrong angle at my position, I'm not necessarily asking if they have an agent they're working with. My question is, do they have a lender that they trust? Is they should be having both of those individuals working together on their benefit. As this negates a lot of those confusion, a lot of that conversation. Why do you want the rate to drop? Well, I want a lower payment. Okay, but that's not the only avenue that we should be looking at to get yourself a lower payment.
yeah.
Especially when you know that you need a new home.
Yeah.
You have a reason to purchase another home.
And so people's focus on rates is really focused on monthly payments, and to what you alluded to, Justin, is. I mean, in this market, the right property, it's all about buy downs, adjustable rate loans. I'm constantly focusing on seller concessions and in having that conversation right now. In this market, we want a home that's been on the market for 80, 90, 100 days. Okay, that seller is feeling the pinch, and they're more apt to negotiate and offer more and more in seller concessions, and you can and so with that you can really have the best of both worlds. You can get a good price, you can get a good mortgage payment, you can get a good rate, leveraging the sellers. And it's funny so the client that I referenced with you earlier, so we went out and looked at a home yesterday because I had lunch with him like a week and a half ago, and I went through all of this and I went through all of these strategies, and I couldn't believe it. First of all, I'm like, dude, what are we waiting for? And he goes, I'm just trying to get that 20%. I go, 20% for what? He goes, for my down payment. And I looked at him. He goes, "Is that wrong?" I'm like, yeah, Jake, that's wrong.
And it's not his first house.
No,
He's bought in a few houses.
He has, but him and his wife, when they were married, every house they purchased together, they put 20% down. So he just assumed that that's the way it went. So we had this whole talk. I got him all excited, and this house popped up, brand new to the market this weekend. Wonderful. And I know the agent on the other side. And I'm going to get into that conversation with Claudia. It's a very funky situation. And I go, okay, so everything we just said at lunch, we got to throw out the window, because now this home is on the market, opening weekend, brand new in a very, very popular area. And so if we want this deal, we got to go highest and best now, because they had a lot of showings. And he goes, I like the home. I really do. He goes, I like what we talked about at lunch. I want to get a lower rate. I want to get my closing costs paid. And he goes, if this home is still on the market in 2 weeks, let's revisit it. I'm like, yeah, that's the
non-emotional.
strategy.
You got to be non-emotional about it. And I think as agents, you guys, if somebody has a rate, if they're really heavily focused on rate or payment, stop focusing so much on dropping the price of the home and focus more on those concessions to drop the interest rate, to make the payments more affordable. $20,000 to pay for concessions to rate buy down is going to do a heck of a lot more to the payment than reducing the purchase price by $20,000. It's just the way it works. It's going to work so much better for your client, and it's going to make the home cheaper over the life of the loan.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting in 2025 with the affordability issues we're running into, monthly payment should be the main conversation, not the rate. And so with you, agent, with your lending partner, you should be game planning about how to get this buyer the payment that they need. And I think that's what you guys are constantly doing when you're having conversations. Another reason why to use a local lender that knows you, knows the market, knows the buyer. But those are the conversations. This is a team environment. And you as the agent, you don't need to know all of the different avenues for first-time home buyer, et cetera, programs that Fairway and Frederick team are having. You just need to have a partner you trust that you can go, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what they want to do. Here's the house they're looking for. Now, what does that look like for a monthly payment? And that conversation should be happening more than it is.
Yeah, and so the conversation that Jess and I are going to have later on this afternoon is, okay, let's get an estimated, what is his closing cost going to be? What are the different options, the different rate buy down options? How much are each of these top 3 programs going to cost? And now I have a number when I go in to negotiate and when I go in to write up this contract.
And to both of your guys' points, when you have those conversations with the buyer on your own, because a lot of times they'll open up more to the agent than they will to the lender. If they're saying, yeah, the payment's too high, well, ask them, how realistically, how much is this payment too high? Is it $100? Is it $50? Okay, take that information, come back to us, and let's strategize. Let's work through the numbers. Let's figure it out and go after a new plan.
Yeah, and the third one is a conversation that I have with my clients, and it's kind of a segue from point number 1, and trying to shift the conversation from rate to equity, because we're really big on equity and building wealth, and you'll always have the option. If you get today's rate and rates drop, you always have the option to refinance that rate. The one thing you can never do is 2 years later go back and try to lower how much you paid for the house.
Correct.
Right? And so equity is we've just I always try to shift from, it's not about rate necessarily, and it's not about payment, but it is about equity, because you are now in a position to start building your nest egg, and equity gains often outweigh the short-term rate discomfort.
Another thing that I want to remind people is 2 years ago, at this time, our rates were in the low 8s. We are now, we just showed 6.2. It's a big difference on the interest rates. Now, if you look over the history of mortgage rates, we are below the average on the history of mortgage rates currently. So I don't know how much lower everybody thinks that we're going to go, but we're not going to see. The last time prior to 2008, 2009, that we were in the 4s was World War II. And that just, our market is, we would have to be in a lot of distress in order to get to that point. And what drove us there in 2009 was the housing crisis, predatory lending. There was bad appraisers out there. We have all this quality control now to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. We would have to be in some pain in order to get to those lower rates. So I think if we hit low 5s, we would be really lucky. I think that we might get to some high 5s, but it's not much off from where we are right now.
But my point is, we talk about, if you wait and there's more competition, home prices might go up. So if I buy today at 500 and take a little bit of a higher rate, and then rates do drop, I can refinance.
Easy.
But now other people would be buying that house for 525.
Yeah.
That now I've just built a significant equity position.
Whereas a refinance, I mean, depending on where you're going, let's just use $3,000. That's what it costs you. $3,000 compared to $25,000, easy.
All day long.
All day long.
So I'm a
and
millennial.
getting all your repairs. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm a millennial, as Mike likes to point out as much as he possibly can. NAR put some stats out last week, and these are national stats. I understand they're national, but let's just talk about it for a second. So NAR, according to NAR, the average age of a first-time home buyer in 2025 is 40 years old, my age. So what I see when I'm on social media, and it's the oldest it's ever been. 40 is the oldest that has ever been since they have started recording these metrics. So that's
Well,
not great.
Claudia's got another 8 years, so you know,
100%.
I mean, she's rocking 32.
What I see on social media, a lot of the posts are from agents. I would say some lenders, but mostly agents saying 3 weeks ago, a month ago, interest rates were X. Home prices were X. If you would have purchased then, you would have saved a couple $1,000s on the purchase of the home as you will today, because homes have gone up and rates have dropped just a little bit, or they've stayed flat. It's these weird like FOMO posts trying to get people like that their fear of missing out on getting whatever they're going to get today.
They already
a month
missed
later.
out.
That's my point. Like, you're making my generation who want to be informed, who want to be a part of the conversation, who want to make a good decision, feel bad about missing out. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit on the sidelines longer and wait even more to make sure we're getting a good deal. You're not helping your cause. We should be, as an industry, trying to get buyers to understand the world has pivoted and changed. The interest rate shouldn't be the focus. The price of the monthly payment should be. The conversation should be. Talk to me today about what we can do to get you into a home right now. You need to buy a home now because you need to build equity. Equity leads to wealth. I mean, these are basic 101 principles of wealth building and having a secure life. Talk about that, not make people feel bad about not jumping into the industry 6 months ago.
Agreed.
All right, Justin, appreciate
Thanks,
it. Good
guys.
stuff. All right, we're going to bring Claudia into the conversation. All right. So I tried to come see you beforehand because I had a couple last-minute scenarios. So I don't know whether you want me to put you on the spot now or we go later.
I'm good. Before we get started, I do want to say a very, very happy birthday to the Marine Corps. 250 years.
Yes.
Amazing. And thank you to everybody. Obviously, we're going to be thinking about everyone tomorrow and thanking our veterans. So, again, being around people that serve, it just gives you that want to serve even more. So if you have a veteran client, buyer, or seller, we can definitely take care of you at West USA. And we pride ourselves in being there for our people, our community. So I just wanted to put that out there.
All right.
It was also Claudia's birthday on Saturday, everybody.
It was.
Yeah, she turned
Not
32.
30, not 32, but thank you.
You're welcome. All righty. All right. So I had two situations. So the first one, and it's hard to explain. So I'm gonna follow along with me.
Yeah.
So I represent a couple. Okay. They get a divorce. Okay. The divorce decree says he gets the home in Mesa. She keeps the one in Litchfield Park.
Okay.
However, neither one of them remove each other's names from title.
Okay.
So now I am selling her home, and everything's going really, really smooth. But he still has to sign everything.
He does.
Right? Now, we're under contract, and the buyer lives 3 doors down. They just want to go live on the golf course.
Sure.
I also represent the husband, the ex-husband, right? So we now go look at the buyer's home that just went on the market.
Oh, okay.
Is that something I've never? Okay, this is a new one for me.
Number one, how wonderful that exes can live 3 doors down from each other.
No. Well, she's moving.
She's moving. Okay, but he wants to live back in the same neighborhood.
No, she's moving to another state, right?
But he wants to go back to that same street down the way.
Same street, and buy another house from a seller that is buying his ex-wife's house.
Sure.
There are disclosure issues there.
Sure. Well, the disclosure is a party can be a party. So typically that would be something familiar to like an arm's length, but it's not because they are two separate entities. He is a principal on the property that is selling.
Correct.
Right? And per the divorce decree, he's going to sign off, right?
Yep.
There's no issues there. So that's problem number one, that there is no issue. Everyone knows who he is. His name's on the contract. He's on title. That's fine. The fact that he wants to buy the home of the buyers for his property is not a big deal. It is disclosed. So again, if it was a secret entity, he's buying it through an LLC and hiding names, but that's not the case. So it's disclosed to everybody, but is it a contingent offer? Because no, right. So again, if it was contingent, it'd be a little bit more cumbersome, but it's not. So it's a separate transaction altogether. So I don't see any problems with that at all. And good on you for representing both.
And I just disclose. I let everybody know that, hey, yeah, and then the text started off, you're not going to believe this.
That it's, some people, that's great. That shows that he loves his neighborhood.
Yeah.
He loves where he lived, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's a very real thing to buy real estate, to invest your times, blood, sweat, tears, money into a property. And if he's happy with that street in that neighborhood, good on him. That's great. And again, you're there to help him. So that's wonderful.
All right. Second scenario.
Yes.
Got an investor. They've got a house for rent, listed for rent. Potential tenant comes by yesterday to take a look at the house, and say the rent is like $4,000 a month.
Okay.
He's the potential tenant. He's a retired UFC fighter. My guy's a retired Major League Baseball player. So they had a good time,
yeah.
right? So he wants to pay 12 months rent upfront, cash, just be done. And so he called me this morning and said, are there any pitfalls? And I said, you need to understand that you can only collect and hold on to 1.5 times a month rent. So in the event that he jets 6 months down the road, you theoretically could owe him for that rent and have to refund it. So my say him 2 months to keep the 2 months of rent.
There's only so much he can keep. So there's a form for that. It's a voluntary advanced payment of rent. And a lot of people want to do that because they figure they can get a better deal. So there are restrictions to what they can and cannot keep as far as the funds that are held. But it gives the landlord the opportunity to try to re-rent it out. So yes, there are limits to it. I advise everyone to speak to their broker when it comes to this situation. You want to make sure that everyone's aware of what they're getting into, because it may sound all great. Oh, I'm going to pay 12 months of rent up front. It's going to get me a better deal. I'm going to look better. But life happens. Just as we're talking about things fall apart. People get, even in the military, they get the PCS, they get the orders to move. So things do change. There are limitations. Again, we have a form for that at West USA, and it addresses all those issues. And I highly advise West USA agents, get on your dashboard. There you go.
I'm going to do that. I was not aware of this form.
Yeah, I believe it's on the dashboard. Don't.
According to Dean Becker, the slogan for West USA is, we're West USA. We have a form for that. So if you're not sure, you could just assume that we have one somewhere in the dashboard.
We do. We try to anticipate the move. Again, we're trying to be very proactive, not reactive. So we want to make sure that our agents have the resources that they need. And that does come up a lot as far as the rentals and the rental world increased in numbers, right? When rates went up and people couldn't afford to purchase. I mean, you guys were just talking about rates. And I love that conversation, and it's on everyone's mind. But again, with people waiting, and just to harp on what you guys were talking about, people that are waiting for the rates to come down are going to be missing out on all those closing costs that are being negotiated and paid by sellers right now. It's remarkable how much you can get in a transaction if you negotiate properly. So yes, interest rates may be a little high, but then ask for a year paid of HOA.
Yep.
Help that monthly payment, right? So there's a lot of things you can do.
I'm not sure if Dean actually has this memorized or not, but he just chatted in. It's A252 is the form.
Hey, I'm gonna write that down. All right,
check it out. I mean, guys, I don't have the numbers memorized. I don't know if I ever will. I've only been here for what? Nine months in this seat. But one day I hope to be like Dean and spew off those numbers at you guys. But yes, we have forms for a lot of things.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Dean. We like you just the way you are, Claudia. All right, and there's more. So one more scenario.
Yes.
Now, I didn't do this. Okay. No, because I always knock first and ring the doorbell. So I learned that using align showings on an iPhone when you don't have your glasses is very, very complicated. So in my brain, my intentions was to set the showing for Sunday at 11 a.m. Okay. I even text the agent, said, hey, I just sent her a showing and we want to come see it tomorrow at 11 a.m. And he says, you're approved and you're good to come tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Well, I inadvertently set it for 12 p.m. So I knock and they answer the door and that's fine. Had I gone in, would that text message save my butt?
Well, whenever you show up to a door, you should always knock and ring the doorbell, right? That's just custom. It's a really good
and I do that,
practice,
and that's what
right?
So
it's a practice. So, no, so that you had an appointment to view, and you messed up your schedule. You didn't wear your glasses, which you should always wear your glasses. I'm not wearing mine today, but that's okay. So you want to make sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. If they say, "Oh, we weren't expecting you till noon." Oh, I am so sorry. My appointment was for 11. I must have made a mistake. So you want to be cordial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say, well, we're not ready for you until noon. Okay, is there any way we can get in right now?
No, we were going to go down the street and go have a drink. They let us in.
No, you weren't. So you can go down to the Circle K and get a water or something. But yeah, I've done that. And I'm like, okay, guys, you know what? They're not ready for us. Let's take a stroll around the neighborhood. There was a park down the street. Let's go get familiar with the neighborhood. Use it to your advantage. I used to do that back in the day when I had clients in my car, I'd make a wrong turn. Of course, the instructions on MLS sometimes are not the best. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's do a U-turn just so you guys can see the neighborhood. Just play it off.
Yeah.
But you do want to be cordial, and an appointment's an appointment. You get that. It's an easy mistake. It happens.
Yeah, well, it happened.
You got to be careful. I mean, I coach a lot of our new agents that they need to follow those instructions on MLS. If they say, do not lock the garage door, entry door from inside, don't, because that could be their access. That's how they get it home. If there's a pet in the home, please be careful. I did let out a cat once and I felt horrible.
Why?
Cats are nice. Anyway, it was a family pet. I felt really, really bad. So follow the instructions. Sometimes they may, back in the day, before we had alarm code stuff, people would put it in the comments, in the private remarks, that there's an alarm. I failed to read that part. And of course, lo and behold, I opened the door and alarms are going off. And my poor client was like, I think 88. The poor thing. I felt so bad. She was so shaken. But things do happen. It's a very important task that we're faced with to try to show them homes. But you got to remember that's their first exposure to the home. So you got to try to be very nice.
I was showing a home once up in, it was in Heber Overgard area. And the house had an alarm. The instructions to set the alarm or turn it off, whatever, were not correct. The agent gave me the wrong instructions. So the police showed up.
Yeah.
And then the police call the homeowner. She's yelling because, these agents keep doing this, da-da-da. I'm like, well, talk to your agent.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all agents are created equal.
Facts.
And that's why training is really important. But you have to pay attention to what's in front of you. If you're not reading those listings through line by line to make sure you're not missing something, who else is there to blame but yourself?
Yeah.
Like that's just, you want to try to avoid those little things that come up, and they will, because it's a very real thing that we work in. Real estate. It's very, very real. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm done. So what do you
done.
have? Yeah,
Okay,
I tried to catch you early this morning with I didn't want to throw you too much off.
No, that's fine. I'm fine with that. If I don't know the answer, guess what, guys? I have the source.
Yeah, Dean's listening.
I have Dean, Dwayne, Kyle. I have a lot of our executive staff. We have a lot of knowledge at West USA, and I love that. So one thing that you're going to find, which you don't find at a lot of brokerages, is people that have years of service. years of service in the business. I can say, oh, I've been licensed for 28 years and I think I'm, great. Like, wow, I've been in it a long time. There are people that have been in this industry at West USA way longer than I have. And I love that. I love that I always have people to reach out to. I can call Marge with a question. I can call Dean. I can call other agents that I know that have been in the business, like Peggy Yandel out in Goodyear. I can reach out to those people. Sometimes I'll call Mike Weinstein, but I love that about West USA. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about VA loans and VA properties. So hopefully you as agents know that on Armless Flex, when you're searching properties, you can search for new financing VA. So I made this mistake. I think when they first started coming out with the new financing field, and I want to say it was in the 90s. It was the late 90s. I had a VA client, very nice couple. I felt really, really bad because I sent them a search and she fell in love with this home in Surprise. Surprise was just getting booming. And we went to go see it. They wanted to write an offer. So I called the other agent. We talked about some things. And I said, okay, my buyers are, VA pre-approved. And she's like, whoa. She's like, it's not going to go VA. She's like, we didn't put VA. And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not going to go VA? She said, well, you saw the floors. They're cement untreated. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize. And she said, yeah, if you look on MLS, there's a field. Oh, I didn't know. So I felt really, really, really bad. The clients were able to work it out. They invested a little bit of money before they got under contract, but that is a field in MLS, new financing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, on your quick search, go down, add field, type in finance, and it'll come up, new financing. And those are the types. And you want to include VA if you have a VA buyer. You don't want to send them a cash-only deal. Maybe they could do it, maybe they can't. So there's a lot of things that you need to look out for when you're searching. So that's number one, because that's in our real estate realm. That's something we can control. If you have a client that comes to you and says, I want to buy a home, I'm a veteran, like, okay, great. Have you checked out your VA eligibility? So their certificate of eligibility is very, very important for them to have. It tells how much entitlement they are able to take on their VA loan. A lot of people don't, it's a foreign language to them. If you haven't done a VA loan, reach out to your lenders. Justin at the Frederick team at Fairway has some great information for you. Reach out and ask them about that. Not only that, we had an agent who was so happy, appraisals come in and sometimes they're not right. Not every appraiser is, had their coffee in the morning and then in a good mood. Maybe they, haphazardly picked another property to comp and it doesn't really comp out right. So our appraisals get hurt by that. For the VA department, it's called Tidewater. If you have to appeal an appraisal, it can be done. But one of our agents, I saw she posted, she was so happy she won an appeal. And it was Tidewater. Very, very difficult to do. But if you do your homework, you're going to know. Hopefully when you're writing your offers, you've done some homework. You've looked at the comps and you have an idea of what it's going to come in at. It shouldn't be that big of a surprise. But VA is a little bit different. VA FHA is always going to be a little bit more stringent on its appraisals. There's got to be minimum property requirements. So if you're a listing agent, you go to a listing consultation, you see there's all kinds of shrubberies and trees around the property. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is going to be an issue for your VA appraisal. It's going to come up because all the shrubberies and trees that touch the roof line, that's conducive to termites. So I know this because I've been through this situation. If you don't know what the VA requirements are for an appraisal, ask your lender. They have some of that information for you. If there is nail heads coming through the covered patio, that's not going to fly. The biggest one that I always see when I do VAs or FHAs is the fascia of the home is peeling.
Yeah.
The paint's peeling off. That has to be all scraped and repainted.
So sellers got to
prepare.
make up their mind ahead of time whether they want to offer this to VA as a VA financing.
And you'll have some sellers that say, "Oh, I really don't want to go VA. I don't want to have to deal with the stricter appraisal." Yeah, but it's government backed, so that's great. A VA buyer is going to have some bonus to it, and I definitely would look into that. I again urge you to reach out to your lenders, get some more information. There's a lot that I want to put out a coaching program flyer for our agents at West USA that talk about the benefits of working with VA, the different requirements. Again, that buyer needs to have their certificate of eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they know how much they can take out. Now, I also had a client who was a VA, great guy, veteran, moved here from, I don't even know where. He came here from somewhere, but he wanted to buy an investment property. And I said, oh, it's your VA. I said, let me check on that. Because I didn't know. I didn't say no. I said, let me check. So we checked, and the lender said, yeah, he can get a fourplex as long as he lives in one of the units.
Right.
And it turned out perfect for him. He actually got his real estate license and started investing. So it started his career in investments. It was wonderful. The fact that I could provide that knowledge, I didn't know for sure, but I said, let me check.
All right, pop quiz.
Okay.
You know what the loan max is on a VA loan?
No.
$2 million.
Can be. Right. It can be. It can go up, and I think it's like 1.7. I don't think it's exactly 2, but it's up there. But you do want to. I don't like to
No,
quote.
it's a great conversation starter.
It is.
Let's
I don't
see
like
how
to quote,
much.
Yeah, let's see how much. I don't like to quote numbers because, again, I'm not a loan officer, so I don't want to put myself out there because the one thing that clients, I love clients, but they're always going to say, well, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, I said, let's check with the lender. So that's always going to be my answer when it comes to those things. But there's a lot of great information. Let's see, what else have we not talked about? The appraisal is a big one.
Have you ever had your because this just happened to me. Not bad.
Oh, okay.
Why does every time I talk to a broker, they think that I've done something?
Because typically you have.
I don't talk about them too often on the podcast. Okay.
Okay.
So I represent the seller, and the day of the appraisal, the appraiser reached out to me, and he goes, just send me whatever comps you used. I need to see where you came up with this value. And I was like, oh, I mean, I was worried for a week.
Yeah.
And I mean, because it's in such a very unique Litchfield Greens, so you're familiar.
Yeah.
So there's not like a ton, and so I don't like to go across the street, but when there's so little activity, and the little activity that was there wasn't really helping me, so I did a pretty bang up job at manipulating data.
Sure.
And we got it ended up going, and it came in at value. But have you ever had that an appraiser reach out to you as a listing agent?
Yes. So when the market has fluctuated as much as it has, and in some pocket neighborhoods, it's really hard. If you have acre properties across the street, for example, Litchfield Greens. Litchfield Greens is gated, beautiful neighborhood. But right across the way, there are acre properties that are a lot bigger, Litchfield proper area. And it's really hard if you're going to try to comp those two. Yes, while they're both, luxury type properties, that is different. So same as, you're in Palm Valley in Goodyear and comping that out to it. You have to be very, very careful. But when an appraiser calls you, it means they want some extra info. Yes, it is kind of like, oh boy, why is he asking me? Did I go too crazy? But
and normally I drop off a packet, but this happened so fast. Like it was a Thursday.
A packet of
just supporting documents and a 6-pack of Miller Lite.
I was gonna say, knowing you.
But it was like Thursday afternoon. Hey, we're coming tomorrow for the appraisal. And I'm like, well, now it's.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much asking you to substantiate where you stand from, where you're coming from on the pricing. Hopefully, it's not to do his homework. They should still be doing their homework. Appraisers have a big responsibility, and not that it was all their fault back in the 2000s, but they did lend a huge part of our mortgage crisis, and that's why now they have so much control on them because everybody wants to make sure. Quality control was huge after the 2008 timeframe because we were in such a hard spot because they were doing desktop appraisals left and right. And getting to know those neighborhoods. That's why if you're an agent that works in Apache Junction and you're trying to comp out Litchfield Greens, you've never been there per se, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Justin will tell the story when, he mentioned earlier how he got started working at Chase Bank. I think it was for 6 years. And he said back then the appraisers would walk in and walk down the cubicles and handing out food and stuff like that.
Yep. They had tight relationships. And, it led to some issues. It really did, because they would just call their buddy and I'm going to get this appraisal done. And there wasn't much of a question of the value, when that's what they're paid to do, is give a professional opinion of the value of the property. And it's very, very important. So a lot of lenders will have a desktop valuation model. They already have an idea of what a home is worth.
Yeah.
But that comes into play. It's very, very important. Should a homeowner get into distress situation, short sale, possible foreclosure, that model that they have already has a value, but they're still going to need an official appraisal done. So that's a huge part of someone's life, to make sure. It's a lot of responsibility. So that you do want to make sure. And speaking of that, for short sales and foreclosures, a VA homeowner that goes through distress like that has a shorter time period to rebuy. So again, if you have questions on short sales, I am teaching a short sale class in Mesa on the 20th of November, open to all agents, even outside of West USA. It's all informative. A lot of good information. You've been in the class before.
I was going to say that. I have attended that class. I've heard you talk about it, a couple times, and an incredible class, well worth your time to go out to Mesa and attend the class, because there's just more and more and more of these. I get the data every month. I get a report of, I think on average it's about 2,200 homes a month that are either 30, 60, 90-day late. And these are the ones that have been scrubbed through the DNC. Right. And then every day I get an email, 15 to 20 homes that have got their notice of trustee sale the day before. So no short sales.
No, but it's very, very real conversation.
I'm at Noah's KNOW. Go to the class and know about
them. Not know as a no. It's a great opportunity to help, again, our community. There's a lot of homeowners that are in distress, and even some that it's a strategic business decision. Because the home, they possibly could afford it, but it's not going to pan out for their long-term plan. They need an out. So again, having that information, that knowledge, what a short sale is, how they work, how you can talk to your clients, whether it be sellers or buyers, on the advantages, disadvantages, things to look out for. It's really, really important. And again, I don't teach you how to do one. I teach you what they are and what you should be looking out for. And I think it's very, very helpful.
All right, so let's talk about a quick question, because I got into a debate with another agent, and I'm going to find out whether I'm right or not so right. Okay. House goes through foreclosure, notice of trustee sale, sold at auction. Okay. So now we got a new buyer that bought, obviously, the house from the trustee, and there's a tenant in there.
Okay.
Is that lease agreement enforceable, or once the house goes through foreclosures, is this one of those rare situations where that tenant's got to go?
That tenant can stay. That is a contract. It is enforceable. Now, the new buyer can come in and say, hey, I want to buy you out of your lease or whatever. They can make another negotiation, but that tenant can stay. They have a contract. It has to be
but they have a contract with an owner who no longer owns the property.
Right, but it's a distressed situation. So it's still a sale. It still happened.
Yeah,
I mean, do you see what I'm saying? It's still a sale transaction. So it's not like you can't just evict them. They have rights. If you have questions on that, you can definitely look up the Arizona Landlord and Tenant Act. You can also contact your broker team. Every scenario is a little different, but contract law is contract law.
All right. So I'm looking at this, the A252 form. Dean, if you're just sitting there, go ahead and email that to me. Make my job easier. That'd be fantastic.
Or you can look up on your dashboard.
Oh, I can, but I got Dean.
But you got Dean. Guys, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate
good
being
stuff,
on.
Claudia. I absolutely love it. We're gonna have you back, I think, in December.
December, yes. And real quick, December, if you're interested, we have a blood drive at the corporate office on December 8th. It's a Monday. In December, I will be there giving blood. Hopefully, I don't know about Mike, but hopefully everybody else, we want your blood. So come out.
I gotta get a BAC test before I go in.
I don't even want to know what kind of test that is, Mike.
The kind that the police officer gives you on a Friday night when they pull you
Right.
over.
Well, yeah, just disconnect it from your car.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
fine.
kidding. All right. We'll leave everybody with the quote of the day. It's not happiness that brings us gratitude. Gratitude that brings us happiness. Hey,
Thank you. Happy
quotes,
Thanksgiving.
go out and sell a home.